Okay, hi everyone, welcome back. In this video, we're going to check out Polygon's price chart, see what's happening in the short term. But real quick, I want to talk about, I'm going to say a rather important update around Polygon that at first glance may not necessarily seem that much of a big deal. But I do think down the line in the mid to long term, this is going to have deep implications. So let's see what is going on. And this update is about actually Polymarket and the launch of something called PUSD. Now, in simple terms, Polymarket is one of the biggest consumer applications in Web3 space, and it runs on Polygon rails. Now, here's a problem. As usage actually increased, the platform started facing some minor technical issues, and users, well, unfortunately, some of them were experiencing failed trades, mainly because the system couldn't really handle a large number of transactions happening all at the same time. So what they did is basically rebuild the core engine. You see, with this new system, when you deposit USDC, you actually received something called PUSD, which is just a one-to-one representation of your funds inside of the Polymarket platform. And again, it's very important to understand that PUSD is not really an algorithmic token. It's simply a backed balance used for trading. Now, the important part in here is how traders are processed right now. You see, instead of relying on old mechanisms which caused conflicts under heavy load, okay, the new system actually uses timestamps and signature-based order tracking, and this is going to reduce failed transactions, and also it's going to make the whole system much more stable. And at the same time, gas fees has also improved, meaning users can trade much more frequently without worrying about the fees, which is great. Also, the new setup actually allows builders to create tools and bots with clear fee structures, which can attract a whole lot more advanced users, and that is going to, I think, lead to the transaction numbers going up big time. Now, at this point, of course, you might ask, why does this matter for Polygon specifically? Couple of important points. First, this upgrade is happening directly on Polygon, meaning what? Polymarket is not really moving away, and that removes actually a rather huge risk, and it's going to keep one of the most active applications on the network, which is great for Polygon. Second, every dollar that enters Polymarket is logged as USDC behind PUSD, and as usage grows, okay, I'm gonna say probably more stablecoin liquidity is gonna get anchored inside the Polygon ecosystem. And another point to consider is this. You see, with a more reliable system, higher frequency trading is probably going to become more and more possible, and that means more transactions overall. And finally, very important to understand this, more transactions essentially means more gas usage, and even if the fees are low, which is, by the way, one big advantage of Polygon, at scale, I do think this is going to create continuous demand and token burn. And trust me, you have seen the effects of token burn if you have watched the previous Polygon videos. I'm talking specifically about that period of a lot of people betting on Polymarket because of the Super Bowl. In that period, we burned a whole lot of Polygon tokens, and I don't really expect something like that, or let's just say that something as big as that to happen anytime soon. But if the token burning rate is going to increase slowly but surely, overall, maybe down the line, Polygon, as opposed to inflationary, is going to become hopefully deflationary, meaning what? Hopefully the available circulating supply is going to decrease, and at the same time, if we are going to see, because of the wonderful fundamentals of Polygon, maybe an increase in demand, okay, that's just the perfect formula for price appreciation for the token in the mid to long term. And this, my friends, is exactly why I wanted to talk to you about this important update on Polygon, which again, I don't really think a whole lot of people are going to talk about it. So overall, I would say this was a rather positive development, and in the mid to long term, we are going to see the effects of it quite a bit. Now, having said all this, let's go on the live chart and see what is going on in the very short term. Okay, here we are. And if you remember, the last time that we talked about Polygon, we were specifically right around this area. And the idea was that, well, okay, in terms of indicators in MACD, what do we have? A low followed by a higher low. But on the live chart, we are having a low followed by a lower low, suggesting what? This was, we said, a beautiful bullish divergence, suggesting hopefully bears are running out of power. But at the same time, we very much specifically mentioned this. We said if we, God forbid, get a bit of a move down, and in that move, we get a break of this divergence line, at that point, expect a rather strong continuation of our move down. And right at this candlestick in Polygon, if I just do this, excuse me, what just happened? There we go. Right at this candlestick, about, let's say, 8.6 cents area, we got the break of our divergence line, and you could have very well predicted a continuation of the move on the downside. And right now, you might be able to argue, because number one, in a stock RSI, we are around the oversold region, and number two, it seems like that we want to get a buy signal. Maybe right in here, we're gonna have our final low. Okay, you know what? Fair enough. This is a possibility. However, for Elliott wave reasons, I'm gonna say probably this isn't really likely. I mean, do not get me wrong. This definitely is a positive signal suggesting the same thing as Elliott wave suggests, which is what, you know what, downsides are indeed quite limited. However, Elliott waves, when it comes to like the very short-term structures, actually suggest completely different thing. Let's go on H1 time frame and tell you what is going on. There we go. You see, in Polygon, now, because unfortunately we have taken in the recent phase on the downside in the last 48 hours, this very important major pivot low about 8.4 cents, we should really change how we are thinking in Polygon. Why? Because prior to taking this low, the main idea was this. We were saying, if you want to argue the final low in Polygon is in, okay, naturally you have to be able to find off of the lows a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave up, followed by a slow and choppy move on the downside. And if you see this, okay, right in here can be a decent long opportunity in hope that we get a very strong continuation of our move up and basically start a new uptrend. And because we were sort of kind of able to argue, yep, this is a 5 wave right around these areas, since also this move down was a bit of a slow and choppy one, we were actually quite optimistic, and we were saying hopefully the low is in. But as you can see, that absolutely did not play out, and I was 100% wrong, and I would like to apologize for my poor judgment. Now, we need to come up with a bit of a different count, and the one suggesting what is going on in here is actually quite simple. You see, I'm gonna say this is still a 5 wave on the upside. However, it's just going to be now part of a correction structure, starting, believe it or not, from this point and not the lowest low, in form of, you know what I'm about to say, an A, B, C, and yep, it's going to be a bit of a running flat, since in this C leg, we did not, by like the smallest margin, take the height of our A leg. Now, here's a very important point. At the moment, if you want to say, we're going to have our final low in Polygon somewhere around the current area, hey, guess what? You have to be able to find a complete 5 wave on the downside. And here is the bad news. I don't really think we are able to argue. We are at least right now a bit close to reaching to our final low. Why? Because, again, question for you, how exactly are you able to argue this is a complete 5 wave? I'm gonna say you probably cannot argue that, and your best shot at finding a bit of a 5 wave is probably going to be this. From here to about the lows, this is a 5 wave down into 1, followed by a bit of a correction structure. I'm gonna say probably to about here in form of an ABC running flat into wave 2. And what's happening right now? Let's just put the end of our wave 3, 4, 5 in here and tell you, unfortunately, we believe that in Polygon, we are having from the height of our wave 2, probably a wave 1, 2, but again, this is going to be on a lower degree relative to this 1 and 2, and the current move down, which got accelerated a little bit, most likely is going to be into a wave 3, and then what? You know it, consolidation for 4, another move down into wave 5, and even at that point, let's just change the colors, there we go, this red 5 wave down is just going to be into this larger degree wave 3, and then what? Well, again, corrective movement for 4, and then yet another move on the downside into wave 5. And I want to be very clear, this doesn't necessarily mean that we are going to have like a 50% dump. Absolutely not. I do think, again, because of that signal in a stock RSI in daily time frame, downsides are overall in Polygon quite limited. However, this also doesn't really suggest that the final low is in, and right around the current area, effective immediately, we can be bullish. I think in the next, probably I'm gonna say 2 to 3 weeks, we are going to have a bit of a slow and choppy move on the downside, which is seriously going to go on anybody's nerve. But if you have done your due diligence fundamental wise about Polygon, and you do think this is a great project with bright future ahead, I'm really thinking this might be a beautiful buy opportunity for all of us. Hence why right around the lows, I'm actually buying Polygon. I know Right now, since my Elliott wave scenario got invalidated, I am quite a bit frustrated, but again, I'm in this game for the mid to long term, and overall, I still do believe, despite the recent move down even, the structures are actually looking quite decent in Polygon in the long term, suggesting at one point, and I'll be honest, I don't really know exactly when, we are going to have a beautiful bull run in order to, I'm gonna say, probably get to around, I'm gonna say most likely $8, and if we are lucky, we could go quite a bit higher than that, and even like $8 from my point of view at least is going to be plenty enough, since let's say even from the 10 cents area, we're gonna have what to about $1, somewhere around like a 10x move on the upside. And again, I don't know about you guys, from my POV, this is absolutely enough and great, and at that point, well, I'm gonna make a whole lot of money if I'm going to buy the dips right in here. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in Polygon's price chart. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time. Goodbye.